All right. Switching it up today, boys. Going with StreamYard. Sorry, I was on the phone. I would have started this a little bit earlier. I just want to make sure I'm actually live before I start ranting and talking about how excited I am. All right. There we go, boys. We are live. It was cool seeing everyone in the live chat of the Robert Saleh introductory press conference. It's nice to see that. All right, so my quick takeaway is I love the all gas, no brakes. I think that is friggin' awesome. I think knocking the mic around. And he says it's not just on the field. It's not just an all gas, no brakes, like, hey, go tackle the ball carrier. No, it's actually talking about, from the start of your morning. You want to put those pajamas on, or not put those pajamas on, take those pajamas off and throw those underwear on as fast as possible. So yeah, it's cool. I like the whole mentality, like everything this guy's about. Other thing I thought it was interesting, as far as defensive coordinator goes, Saleh will not be the one calling the plays. It's going to be Jeff Ulbrich. From what it sounds like, he was the Atlanta assistant head coach and defensive coordinator after Quinn left down there. So I like that. I think that's cool. I think it shows that Saleh is more of that CEO style of head coach that we've heard so much about. In terms of the plan for Sam for next year, oh man, zero commitment on Sam Darnold. He did bring up the whole fact that, we game planned around him. We know who he is. He's got a strong arm. He's intelligent. The work ethic, everything inside the locker room is great. He basically flooded the Sam Darnold love into the press conference, but was not committal in terms of what they were actually going to, in terms of how they were going to start him. So more than likely, they're going to play this close to their chest. They're going to say, hey, you know what? Sam's our quarterback. I think that's what I expect to hear the rest of the way out. Sam's our quarterback. And then you go from there. Like I said, Jamal Adams, he's going to be our safety long-term. Odell Beckham Jr., he's going to be here long-term. Josh Rosen, he's our quarterback until he's not. Sam Darnold, going to be our quarterback until he's not. So interesting thought processes all the way around. I thought this press conference compared to the Adam Gase press conference was night and day different. Night and day different. Guys, like for 100% of my watching of this press conference, I was like, man, his eyes are looking in one location. They're not going all over the place, all squirrely. That was just so nice and a breath of fresh air. That's really, I guess if there's one thing I can pull away from this entire press conference, was that it was a breath of fresh air. It felt like there was new energy in the building. Christopher Johnson, he seemed happy. Douglas seemed happy. It seemed like there wasn't much of a connection. They knew each other, but as they vetted this whole, process of coaches they wanted to bring in, they heard more and more, and it kept coming up more and more that Robert Saleh was the guy that they, liked. And the issue with other coaches, and not that there was issues with other coaches. Like they said, they interviewed a bunch of really nice guys, a bunch of really good coaches in this league. Saleh was just the culture changer. That was the big piece here. What else did he talk about there? Game planning. Everyone's on board. Everyone across the board. This is a guy that's going to be, he's going to have his hands in every little piece of this Jets organization. And the coaching structure, the structure change. How big was that? You got the owner, then you got the GM, then you got the head coach. This is the first time we've seen this, to my knowledge, under the Johnson family of Jet ownership. So the coaching structure changes, the head coaching, the power structure, all that, fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And then we find out Woody's coming back today. Woody's on a plane flying back from the UK today. He's going to be the acting owner. I see Heath says reporting structure is irrelevant. I think it's definitely overblown. I would say that the fans make a bigger deal of GM, head coach, going up to ownership, seems like a more wonky situation than like the GM or owner, GM, head coach, where it's like a chain of command. It's actually, I think it's 50-50 split. I think half the league actually does one, half does the other. Let's see. V-Man saying thoughts on our new defensive coordinator, Jeff Ulbrich from Atlanta. So thoughts, I don't really know a whole heck of a lot about him. I mean, I'll be dead honest with you. I'll rattle off his Wikipedia and we can kind of take it from there. I'd have to dive into it a little bit deeper. I have not done strong enough research on it to give you guys a concrete opinion one way or the other. As a player, he was with San Francisco from 2000 to 2009. As a coach, he was a special assistant assistant on special teams in Seattle, 2010, 2011. I think Saleh was there at that point. I'm pretty sure. It was like right around then that Saleh was over in Seattle. UCLA 2012 to 2014 as a linebackers and special teams coach. He was Atlanta's linebackers coach from 2015 to 2019. He was the assistant head coach and linebackers coach this year, and then he became the defensive coordinator, I guess, at some point whenever Quinn was fired. So what do I think about Jeff Ulbrich? I think if everyone is trusting in this guy to be, the defensive coordinator, call the shots, I'm okay with it. I have no problem. I like that Saleh's allowing someone else to make this decision, or at least the defensive play calls, because this is something that he talked about earlier, where he said you have to trust your coaches and you have to, control what you control what you can control. And I guess technically he could call the plays if he wanted to, but I think if you give someone else that responsibility, one, more heads in the room. I understand that the more chefs in a kitchen mentality, but I think more heads in the room is not that bad. I don't know. Ulbrich, not upset, not overly excited. I honestly have no idea how Atlanta's defense has been doing. I'd have to look into that a little bit harder. But yeah, so all gas, no brakes. Ulbrich is DC calling the plays. Roster control. Did he bring up roster control? I heard them start to talk about it, and I don't know if there was a determination. I would think Douglas still has roster control. And then, no commitment on Sam. No commitment on Sam. That's what we expect. Can't show all your cards. If you show all your cards, then teams trading for Sam are going to know, like, okay, hey, you clearly don't want him. Now, what's going to come to a bubble is going to be if we're sitting at 2. So are we going to trade Sam prior to the draft, or are we going to trade Sam after the draft? I mean, after the draft, not after the draft, but I would say after the number 2 pick. You're probably waiting until that point, unless you get like a really nice offer for Sam, and then you say, okay, I'm going to pull the trigger on, the quarterback at 2. Or we're trading down from 2 and we're rolling with Sam. Or maybe you trade down from 2, you see which quarterback's there at, say, 4, you still hold on to Sam, and you're kind of like, okay, if you have to roll with Sam. But then your guy's at 4, then you're like, okay, well, cool, we'll take that. Now we'll flip Sam. That would be like the best case scenario. If you're cool with keeping Sam, and then you trade down, and then by sheer dumb luck, and not something I endorse whatsoever. I do not want, if you want a quarterback, take your quarterback at 2. Do not trade down and get cute. But if you're okay with rolling with Sam, and a quarterback you like is still there when you trade down, well, that's just the best of both worlds. That's gravy. Absolutely awesome. Caden Smith says, Ryan, I know you want Watson, but do you think Joe Douglas is willing to give up draft capital to make the move? And does Watson fit the West Coast offense? I think they would build an offense around Watson 110%. And I don't think his play style necessarily doesn't agree with like the Shanahan style of coaching. I think quarterbacks just want to go there. I think it's just, I don't want to say it's an easier system, but I think it's a system that quarterbacks tend to thrive in. And you see a lot of quarterbacks want to play in that style of system. So not worried about the offensive fit. Now, as far as Douglas trading for Watson, I don't think it makes a lot of sense, at least not at this juncture. Like, I think if Watson says, hey, I'm only going to play for the Jets, then we have the huge upper hand. Right now, the Jets are in an interesting situation because we don't really have a losing situation here. It's like, okay, you don't trade for Watson. I guess the biggest loss would be if Watson goes to Miami and we had the opportunity to prevent that from happening and get our quarterback and not drastically overpay. Because I think what's happening right now is they're going to try and get Miami and the Jets to fight over one another. And the Texans are going to want to trade with the Jets. The Jets have that number 2 pick. It's way more valuable than Tua or Sam or the number 3 pick, because you get your choice of the quarterback then. So if Douglas can somehow swing a trade where it's really not that bad, like they say they don't want Sam, and they're like, okay, we want number 2. Basically like the Daniel Jeremiah trade. If you can get him for 2 and then a first-round pick in each of the next 2 years, then you don't have to trade with Miami. Then you don't have to trade. You're not going to trade with the Texans. But, the number 2 pick is hands down our bargaining chip to get Watson. Now, if I'm looking at Douglas and I'm looking at what the issue is, there's never really been a situation where you get a 25-year-old top 3 quarterback hitting, the potential market where he wants to come to you. Like that's the piece of this that is so unreal for me. So unreal. Because for me, I'm thinking, all right, Joe Douglas loves his draft picks. He's going to trade down 100%. 100%, I would say he'd trade down. He wants to accumulate a first-round pick next year. Like, for me, if you're saying I could go down from 2 to 4 or 2 to 5, pick up a first in 2022 and maybe a second this year or a third this year, and now you're saying, okay, you have the 5th pick, the 4th pick, whatever, plus the rest of your picks, you're rolling with Sam Darnold, and then you have 3 first-round picks for next year in case you do want a quarterback. That's the route, if we're going to trade down and keep Sam, that I would say this. If we're going to keep Sam, I want to make sure I get a first-round pick next year in some capacity with that trade down. That's really, I think, my sticking point. And then, so do I think they roll? I think it's less likely. Here, we'll do this. Most likely, we're drafting a quarterback at 2. Next, most likely, we trade down, we're rolling with Sam. Possibly trade down to roll with Sam, find out we get dumb lucky and our quarterback actually winds up being there, and we take him anyway. And then third, I would say, is the Watson trade. The Watson trade's interesting. I don't think it's totally out of the realm of possibility. The issue is you see guys like Saleh and Douglas saying, like, this is a process. It's going to take time to build a good team. I think that's them priming the pipes for saying, like, hey, we're not taking any of this, like, real fast fixes. Like, bring in Deshaun Watson, while it is awesome, is a fast fix that could go sideways for the Jets. It could go sideways. I don't believe it will, because short of you paying like 5-6 first-round picks or something crazy, like, you can give up 3 first-round picks if you're the Jets. I would say I would start my offer at 1 each of the next 3 years, and then you could move that up to, like, okay, we'll give you this one plus 1 next year and something else, or you can play around with it. But I think if they try to walk away from whatever offer the Jets are offering for Watson, then I think you have to sit back for your Jets fan to say, okay, is there any price that I should put on Watson going to Miami? Like, is that an auto 2 losses to Miami consistently? It might be. It may not be. I mean, who knows? If Watson in Miami, maybe it doesn't work out. Maybe he doesn't want to go there. Maybe I don't know. It's a very weird situation. My money is on that they don't want to trade with the Dolphins because of how they would be trading for their pick back from the Dolphins that they gave up in the Tunsil trade. And that leaves the Jets. So, like, I think we do have an upper hand. I think it's probably more likely that Watson, I don't know. It's a long-term fix. It's not a short-term fix with Watson, but I think you can make the argument of saying it's reckless because you're giving away assets that could be used for 5-year rookie contracts for cheap. Like, if Douglas is worth his beans, if he's like the guy, I don't have a problem with this because I trust him to draft. And based on his draft this past year, I'm okay with rolling with 2nd and 3rd round picks in 1 year. One draft. You're talking one draft. The 2023 draft is the only draft you would be missing your 1st round pick on if that was the actual trade. Now, if they want to go higher and you just say no, you walk away, because that's the best part about this. The Jets' options are like limitless. You literally can go Watson or Wilson or Fields or trade down and keep Sam. Like, all 4 options, good options for the New York Jets. I cannot be upset with any direction they go. I shouldn't say any direction, but, like, let's say they pull Mac Jones at 2. I'd probably throw my computer through a screen. Robbie Meichner says, D-Mac says you're never getting Watson. I don't think Douglas is going to give up the picks to get Watson. That's my thing. Like, if there's one linchpin in this whole situation, I think the Jets are in a really good situation, especially if the rumors are true today that they have no interest in Sam or Tua, so they just want draft picks. That means it's just the Jets and Dolphins. Like, there's no, I mean, unless they don't want a quarterback, because you're not trading with San Francisco, and what are you taking on Jimmy G? You're eating a bigger contract because Watson's only worth $10 million this year. So they can force Watson to sit out, in which case his trade value goes down. I don't know. I would say the percentage chance of the Jets getting Watson is not overly high. The highest percentage is definitely us drafting a quarterback. The second highest, probably sticking with Sam and trading down. And then the third highest, which still is like, put it this way, I would say there's a higher likelihood of the Jets landing Watson than I think there is of maybe the Jets getting Allen Robinson by himself. Like that's this is a cool piece of it. If you get Watson, now you start getting players that want to play with you. Like, Robinson has come out and liked a bunch of things of Watson going to the Jets. I think Sherman, more so because he's going to be a free agent at 33 years old and wants to play for his ex-coach, wants to come to the Jets. Like, I think you're going to start to see guys start to talk up the Jets a little bit, especially if they get Watson. Nick Gonzalez, my brother, welcome to the Jets Talk 24/7 channel. Thank you so much for joining. You want to be a part of the 10 o'clock mock that I'll be doing every Tuesday night. I do a member-exclusive 10 o'clock mock, so it's kind of neat. Let's see. What are you guys going? It's Vin says Deshaun will retire and take a year off, then come back to sign somewhere else. LOL. Do what Gronk did. So Gronk didn't sign somewhere else. Gronk had to get traded. The team still owns your rights until they, I guess, release you. I don't know exactly how it works in terms of like a retired player, if it counts as a player on your roster until they put in the paperwork. I don't think Gronk ever put in the paperwork to retire. It was kind of like what Brett Favre did. Like, Brett Favre never actually retired, but we released him thinking he was going to retire, and then all of a sudden he's our quarterback, or not our quarterback, but the Vikings quarterback. So it's a little interesting. I do think he could sit out. Carson Palmer sat out, I think it was 6 or 7 games in the 2011, 2010 season, whenever that was, when he was traded. And they got a first and a second for him. If you get a Watson for a first and a second, whoo-wee, that would be awesome. That would be legit. Now, could he sit off? I think he's going to sit out. I think he is done playing for the Texans. That's what it seems like. Unless they hire Bieniemy, in which case they're going to have to pay Bieniemy a ton of money. Because from what I've heard, Bieniemy doesn't want to go to Houston, which I don't know why he'd take the interview. It doesn't make any sense to me. Rafael Gonzalez, my brother. This is Gonzalez too. Are you guys related? Maybe you're related. I think you guys just want the emojis. You guys want to see those JETS emojis? I just threw a few more in there. I have one that says on air. I'm going to change that one. And it's going to say, I'm going to see if I can do it. I don't know if I can, but I'm going to try and get Matt shaking his head. That's going to be the other emoji that we get. Let's see. What else you guys talking about? So Otaram brings up an interesting point. You already have a coach who is attracting players. I wouldn't overpay for Watson. That's fair. If you think Saleh is the guy as far as bringing in additional free agent talent, not a huge reason to get Watson, but Watson's 25-year-old top 3 quarterback. Like, that's what we come back to. Now, the downside, people are going to bring up the injuries, knee injuries. His last knee injury, 2017, was his second ACL tear. So, is he damaged goods? I mean, he's been taking a bunch of hits from NFL players, and he seems to keep on ticking. I would say, reports saying we spoke to Houston, Shaquille Madison. Is that actually true? Now I got to go over to the Jet forums and just see if there's like a little link, because I'm sure there will be if it's there. I don't see anything. I do see a mixed reaction from Houston fans, though. The mixed reaction from Houston fans is pretty interesting, because you get guys that are like really upset that they're losing Watson, regardless of where they go. And then you have other guys say like, oh, I'd rather send him to like Robert Saleh. They kind of like almost sympathize with Watson. There are a few that are upset. I would say it's probably like a 80-20 split in terms of like, hey, our organization fucked it up. Like that's the 80%. And then 20% is like, Watson's just entitled and he wants, more money, or he signed a contract, live up to your contract. Like, the whole stuff we normally get. Sam Littner says, you think we get Sherman this offseason? I think there's a good shot we get him. I think it's similar to like a Frank Gore, Ed Demaryius Thomas type of move where you bring in, or like Rex Ryan, you have Bart Scott, you have guys that you're familiar with that can run your defense, Jim Leonard. I think there's a really high likelihood we bring in some of his former guys. Sherman, it depends how much he wants. I don't want to pay him a ton of money. He's 33 years old, coming off an injury. Like, he played well towards the end of the year, but I would not be overly thrilled if we gave him a ton of money. And by ton of money, like $10 million. Like, I don't even know if I'd want to go to $10 million on him. I think he got 14 or we're supposed to get like 14 or something like that. If you can get Sherman for like 5, I'm probably more on board. Otherwise, I'd probably go a cheaper route. I'd rather go with the younger players, I think. Single Nod becomes a member of the Jets Talk 24/7 channel. My brother, thank you so much for that. Anthony's saying, keep Sam Darnold. Keep him. Tony G says, Sherman will 100% be a Jet. KSE says, Sherman equals Gore. Stay away from them. They are the future. They are the future. They are not the future, I think is what you meant. Sherman, I think, provides a better service than Gore. I think Sherman, I don't know if it's been discussed or if he's been deployed this way, but I would like to put him at free safety, like a zone ball hawking free safety. To me, he is someone, he benefits from zone coverage for sure. He only plays that one side of the field. So utilize that aspect of him with, the age getting a little bit up there. Maybe the speed isn't quite there, especially coming back from an injury. I'm not opposed to bringing him in. I really am not. I don't think he's the same as Gore. I think running backs are a dime a dozen. I don't think cornerbacks are a dime a dozen. And I think, although the whole speed thing, like bringing in Tremaine Johnson to bring in a 33-year-old, Sherman, I could understand where fans are upset, but I think the price point is different. You're not paying $17 million to Sherman. You're probably paying $6-7 million or somewhere in that realm. Let's see. Zach Lindner said Sherman said he's a free safety in back 9 of his career in that part. That would be cool. Anthony says, where in Jersey do you live? I live near some windows. I'm not telling you where I live. Get the hell out of here. No, I'm like a half hour from Florham Park. Carson says May is a free safety. May is a free safety and a strong safety. He's kind of like both safeties. So I don't think he has a particular role. I think he's better. I don't know. I can't even say he's better at one or the other. I like him as the free safety, but if I had someone that could legitimately like ball hawk, although I guess you'd probably need the Jets to play well. If the Jets are losing games the way we're losing, teams aren't passing on us. They're running the ball. That's probably why we're not seeing as many interceptions. Now, if we start winning, we start at least scoring more points where they have to throw the ball, then you'll start seeing the turnovers, the sacks, like everything that sort of comes with that. So it's a process. It's all a process. Vincent Villarreal, thank you so much for the super chat, says trade down to Atlanta to pick 4. Atlanta picks Fields, Miami not picking a quarterback, then we get Wilson. We'll see. So that's the whole thing. You don't trade down if you want the quarterback. If you're cool with taking Sam, if you're cool with rolling with Sam, and you're cool with the trade down, and you go down to 4, I have no doubt if the guy they want or we're slightly considering it too, if all of a sudden he's there at 4, like if Fields is the guy for Atlanta, you got to hope that Miami doesn't trade out, because Miami trading out, the worst thing that could happen is the Jets lose him to someone else. So this has to be the pretense. I'm good with rolling with Sam Darnold in a trade down, 100%. If that's your mindset, you trade down. Now all of a sudden your quarterback's there. Pull the trigger, hands down. Trade Sam, pull the trigger by all means. But you have to have a clear, like, it's a coin flip. Like Wilson plus an extra second plus an extra third. That's more attractive than Sam plus an extra second, an extra third, possibly. Maybe he's not as attractive as, Sam versus Wilson. That whole argument. I don't know. It's fascinating. I would be surprised if the Jets did not take a quarterback. I think they're going to have to by the time it's all said and done. Very rarely do guys go back and forth from bad quarterback play to good quarterback play. It doesn't – year 4 doesn't really jump up that high, especially when you've been like the 32nd ranked quarterback. Don't make it hard on yourself. Just pull the trigger. Kevin L. Sorry, I screwed up the name. I don't know if it's an IRL. Ryan, I've been watching you for a while, and it's great to see you grow, man. Thank you, dude. Thank you. I love the emoji, too. Mumtaz, thank you so much for the super chat, Mumtaz. What happened to your little chat? Mumtaz I got to earn your subscription back. Got to earn your membership back. Sherman, on downside, exposed in Super Bowl. Also a distraction. Let's go youth and build for future or less distracting option. And that's fine. I get it. He was blown up in the Super Bowl. I want to say it was the fourth quarter of that game was a long touchdown. I'm losing it off the top of my head right now, but he did not have a good Super Bowl. Also a distraction. I'm not so sure. He's one of the smarter guys in the league coming from Stanford. And I think a lot of players actually look up to him. So it would not shock me if he's more of a culture influencer, maybe, if you want to call it that. And maybe there's some type of value on that. Like maybe the Jets sort of think like, hey, we have $80 million in cap space. There may be a shot we don't pull in all the free agents we want to pull in. Maybe you overpay a little bit. Like, I don't know if I would bring Sherman in right away unless it was for a cheaper deal. I would prefer we bring Sherman in as a coach. Honestly, if he said, hey, I want to be the coach or the DB's coach for the New York Jets. Good with it. Definitely good with it. Pay him. The only thing is he's going to make more money as a player, as a backup, than he'll make as a coach. Like, even if he takes a deal for $2-3 million, you're still talking a significant pay increase compared to what an assistant coach like Hines Ward is probably making. I don't know what he makes, but I would think it's not going to be nearly enough. That being said, there's a bunch of guys that are coming off the whole free agency realm of 49ers cornerbacks. Sherman's one. I think it's a big connection. Makes the most sense to me as he's aging, probably won't get retained. That said, he's been on the West Coast his entire career. He's got the Seahawks, Stanford, the 49ers. Like, does he really want to come all the way to the East Coast? I don't know. I'm not sure. Then you have guys like Verrett, Witherspoon. You could roll with them. That's another option for the Jets. Darby, I think, is going to be an option from where was he with the Washington football team this year? He overlapped with Douglas in Philadelphia, so maybe that's interesting. We'll see. Who knows? It's Vin says trade number 2 to get more picks this year and next. Build the O-line this year, and if Sam doesn't work out this year, then we draft a quarterback next year, and we can potentially have 3 first-round picks. Well, I think that's definitely the move. Like, I would bet 110% the number 2 overall pick will be a quarterback. 100%. It's just a matter of if the Jets are making that pick or if another team is making that pick. And I think if you're keeping Sam, you have to trade down. And the key piece to any trade down, I would be willing to bet Douglas would take a slightly lesser trade down to get a first round pick as opposed to getting a second and a third. Or maybe we get like, hey, we trade number 2 plus a fourth to get number 4, plus a first next year, like rather than taking the second this year or something like that. Like, I think Douglas in a trade down is going to prioritize a first round pick for next year, because then you run the entire draft. There is like the Jets have. I find it hard to believe that there is going to be another team next year that is going to have more firepower than the Jets in terms of trade leverage. The amount of cap space we have is like ungodly. I want to say it's like $130 million because we have like no one under contract after next year. And we're not paying anyone. It's like, who are you paying? Quinnen after next year? Maybe if you're giving him a deal earlier. If you're rolling with Sam, then you're playing the whole dicey game of, oh God, are we giving him a big contract now? I don't like that. I don't know. We'll see. You guys are saying it's we're not winning the Super Bowl next year, so you have Sam as quarterback. Yeah, but then you don't have a quarterback as your quarterback. Like, that's the thing. Like, Sam could walk at the end of next year. You could get a comp third round pick if someone signs him, which is cool, but the comp pick's a year later, possibly in the third round. So you're gambling on the fact that you're going to have to trade all those first round picks up to go get a quarterback. I don't like that. I'd rather use those picks on players, personally. Famous Jay's becoming another member of the Jets Talk 24/7 family. Show off all those emojis. Got a few new ones in there. We got Freeze Bean. So for the next Talking Jets panel, we'll have Freeze Bean as an option in the emojis. We got Bad Take. We got Bro. We got the Saleh face. So many of them. Logan says, Ryan, would you trade the Jets' third rounder for Zach Ertz because of the Joe Douglas connection? No, because Philadelphia is in horrible cap shape, and more than likely they're going to have to cut him anyway. Not to mention he's on a 1 year, $8.5 million deal, and that is a ton of money to pay a guy that hasn't been very productive the last 2 years. I would rather us roll with Herndon and then maybe draft a guy. For me, I like the idea of kind of kicking the can a year down the road on the whole on the whole tight end market. If LaFleur and Saleh and they see like, hey, Pitts or hey, insert tight end here in the draft is going to be our George Kittle, by all means, make the move. But I think the upside for Wesco, for Griffin, for Herndon, all those guys makes a lot more sense to roll with their upside, spend resources elsewhere right now, and then kind of reassess next year. It's almost the same position that I felt with cornerback. Like roll the cornerbacks in this year, see what we got, go corner in this upcoming draft. Rafi Sanders says, who do you want as the backup quarterback? That is an easy question for me. For me, the question is going, or not the question. For me, who do I want the backup quarterback to be? CJ Beathard? Words. He's the backup quarterback for the 49ers. So to me, that makes a ton of sense unless he's going back to the 49ers. But he's a free agent. So that's who I would choose as our backup quarterback right now. John Wahidi. Thank you so much for the super chat. He says, I think the best trade scenario for Deshaun Watson is both first this year, one next year, and next year's second rounder. Then trade this year's second round pick back with, or then get a second round pick back with a Sam Darnold trade. Best trade situation. Both ones this year, one next year, and next year's second. Man, that would suck because then we're winding up. I don't know. The whole Sam Darnold, if we're not trading Sam to Houston, then it gives you the option of getting another second or third round pick. That's basically what you're equating Sam to. Sam is a second or third round pick sort of waiting in the wings. And if you hold on to him, that's what you should expect back. Giving up 3 firsts, I think we started, I would bet our initial offer is 3 first round picks, and it's 2 and then 1 the next 2 years. Number 2 overall, and then 1 the next 2 years. I would bet our next move would be, okay, first this year, second this year, first next year. Then if push came to shove and they're like, hey, it's got to be 3 firsts, it's got to be these 2 firsts this year, plus, the later of 2 firsts next year or something like that, I would still do it. I mean, you're basically saying, hey, would you trade your first round pick plus Jamal Adams for a franchise 25-year-old quarterback? Yes, 100% I would. I don't care how good of a safety you are. If I could give away a first-round pick and you to get that quarterback, I am doing it 100% of the time. KSE says, Watson deal is Herschel Walker trade in reverse. We'd lose out. Are we, though? Like if you get a franchise quarterback for 3 first-round picks, is that really losing out? Because if you get him, those first-round picks are not going to be high. I would bet if you get Watson on this team, we are immediately in playoff contention. 100% immediately in playoff contention. Because it's not just Watson being added to this team. It's Watson plus, let's just say it's the 3 first-round pick example. Even if it's, let's say both these first-round picks are gone. Like, worst-case scenario. You're talking an additional $70 million in cap space that we could use to surround him with talent. That's including his deal already coming over. Then you have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the draft. Like, you still got 7 draft picks. Not to mention, if you're trading Sam, since you already have Watson, you're getting back another second or third round, or second and third round. Like, who knows? Like, this is like the types of stuff that is just so like unheard of in this league. We've never seen someone of this caliber get traded like this. So interesting nonetheless. Joseph Mordecai. Thank you so much for the super chat. Says, need to keep Sam. Josh Allen would have sucked too. Duh. That's the thing. Like, I guess the argument is like, okay, Baker is looking good now with a new head coach and, offensive line and weapons and things like that. With Sam, like, if this was 2 years ago or last year, like, I completely agree. The issue with Sam right now is that the Jets have the second overall pick. That Sam's contract is coming up. We are not going to give him the fifth-year option because it's fully guaranteed for injury. God forbid he like tears his shoulder or an ACL. We are on the hook for $25 million next year. Like, that isn't going to happen. It's not happening. So the situation with Josh Allen and Baker Mayfield this year playing well compared to last year is not the same as Sam Darnold playing poorly in year 3. That's the huge issue. I don't think anyone would be upset with Sam if this is year 2 or going into year 3. But I think we're upset right now because we do own such a high pick where we could draft a quarterback that would go number 1 in any other draft. If Trevor Lawrence is not the quarterback in this draft, Fields or Wilson would go number 1 in any other draft. This is what you need to really consider. Really, really consider. A lot of Jet fans have Maccagnan syndrome, thinking there's no good players outside the first. Yes, and not even just Maccagnan syndrome, but like the Jet syndrome. Like, since like 2006, we really haven't. I think it was 2006. We haven't drafted well in the second round. It's like David Harris and Marcus May are like the 2 first-round picks that have worked out for the Jets in the last 15 years. That's not the case. Like, normal teams have good draft picks in the second round. Like, if we believe Douglas is the guy, you can 100% build your team with second, third, fourth-round picks plus $1 zillion in free agency. You don't need first-round picks. The majority of players in this league are not first-round picks. You can find players. Now, first-round pick's nice because cap flexibility is really nice. So I think Douglas values his draft picks. I think it's going to be really, really tough to have him split with all that. Antonio says, would you rather trade for Watson or Matt Ryan? I mean, it's definitely Deshaun Watson. Now, if you're saying like, okay, value-wise, if you're saying you're getting, we're going to trade you number 4 overall plus Matt Ryan for the quarterback, and then you take someone else at 4, like if you want to take Matt Ryan in a trade down with more picks, I don't know. I guess there's what sort of flavor you like, because you could go either way. I don't want Matt Ryan as my starting quarterback. He's like 35 years old. I want Deshaun Watson, the 25-year-old guy that just came off a top 3 season. That's who I want. I would give up more picks for Watson than – I don't even think I'd trade for Matt Ryan. Like, I would have a very hard time wanting to trade for Matt Ryan. Williams says Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford, I don't think is going to be an option for us, at least. I think he'll be an option for someone. There's going to be a lot of teams. Teams like the Colts, if they want to trade for a quarterback that's outside of conference, they're kind of out of reach of a quarterback in the draft. Maybe they go out and they throw their first-round pick, which has got to be pick 20, something, somewhere in the like 18, 19, 20, somewhere in that realm to get Stafford. For them, maybe I'd do it. That team's ready to win. It's a solid team, solid foundation. I don't think I would bring Stafford in here, though. For me, it's either draft a young quarterback, roll with your current young quarterback, or go get Watson because he is a young quarterback. So quarterback-wise, we've got Wilson, Watson, Sam, and Fields. We got 4 options, unless you like really fall in love with a guy like Trey Lance or something. Juan, anyone who doesn't want to trade Watson or anyone who doesn't want to trade for Watson doesn't know football. Give them 3 first-round picks with no questions asked. That's definitely where I fall in line on this. It's like, don't overthink it. This guy's top 3. Don't overthink it. You have the 32nd ranked guy sitting behind you. Like, forget it. Forget this. Anthony Torres says, what if we traded down to 4 and got Micah Parsons? No, I'd be upset. I would be very upset if the Jets took a defensive player at number 4. I would rather trade down again. Like, even if we sign a receiver, like let's say we get Allen Robinson at in free agency and we give him a ton of money. We've already taken Mims. I would rather us take a receiver at 4 than Micah Parsons at 4. I would rather us trade down again to get a receiver, or trade down and take a tight end, or trade down and take Surtain, the corner. I don't want Parsons. I don't want any part of him. Not that he's a bad player. I just don't want to spend that high of a pick on a on a defensive player. It would just hurt after so many issues. Ryan, would you package Sam and a third to move up into the first with a team like the Bucks because he is going to back up Brady to sit? I would be 100% for that. All about it. Give up a third round pick plus Sam to move back into the first. It's like, let's say the Bucks wind up with pick 32. Yeah, I do that all day. But then you have to argue, okay, is it better just to get the second or third round pick for Sam? So now you have 2/3 as opposed to one last first round pick. I would like pick 32. I would rather it be the first round pick than drafting in the third. So I would make that trade 100 times over. Where are we going here? Getting Watson is like getting rims for an 80s Buick. I don't believe you. Ryan, the Jet Press released a report saying we spoke to Houston about Watson. Do I believe it? I think we probably inquired, definitely through back channels or whatever. I don't think there's any I wouldn't say we haven't done any due diligence. I think there's probably preliminary talks like, hey, what would it cost? The issue is if you start saying what would it cost, and then all of a sudden Sam gets wind of it and you have a situation like the whole Peyton Manning thing. Now you're like, okay, you pissed off Sam. So you got to figure out, okay, are we trading Sam away, giving him a contract extension? For me, it wouldn't shock me if we reached out. But at the same time, we just went through this whole head coaching process and bringing him in. I don't think we're making this decision without actually having all the heads in the room. Like, you want to have your head coach, you want to have your offensive coordinator, you want to have just sort of talk about it, figure it out, and make whatever the best decision is for the team moving forward. Anthony says, as a Penn State fan, Parsons is going to be a legit NFL player, but the state of the team, he can't be picked by us unless he fell for some reason at 23. Yeah, I'm okay with taking edge at 23. I'm not okay with going edge so high when we need a quarterback. Now, maybe you argue wide receiver isn't a good option, but if you're trading down, I would think you're rolling with Sam. You probably want to roll with some weapons. It depends free agency is going to be so huge, because how do the Jets handle $80 million in cap space? Who are we bringing in? Starters? Are we bringing in depth pieces? Are we filling in starters in the draft? I don't know. Steven says, rookie head coach with Zach Wilson. That reminds a lot of people of Kyler Murray and all the draft capital. They could actually build a top-end roster. That is the most likely situation in my mind. If you say, hey, Ryan, what is going to happen? You have $100. Where are you putting that $100? I'm going to put $100 on the Jets drafting Zach Wilson. I would say he fits the Shanahan system. I've liked him. I enjoy it. I think there's injury concerns with him. He's got the 2 torn shoulders or 2 torn labrums. So, what's better, 2 torn labrums, 2 torn knees? Watson versus Wilson. Or is it just rolling with Sam and just having nagging injuries each year? He's going to miss 3 games every year. I don't know. David Gerard says, you don't give a team 3 firsts for a player that's going to sit out. That's where this gets interesting, because Watson hasn't officially asked for a trade yet, as far as I know. I know he doesn't want to play in Houston, from what people are saying. And you don't want to pay 3 firsts for a player that's going to sit out. Now, I would consider giving 3 firsts to a player that's threatening to sit out when the option is our division rival gives up 3 first-round picks to get said player. I think our biggest fear as a Jet fan, I don't care if we get Watson. I would be fucking pumped. I'd be so pumped if we got Watson. But if we don't get Watson and we have to go with the whole, let's let him go elsewhere, I hope he either stays in Houston or he gets traded to the NFC. Like, I don't want to see him in Miami. I want no part of 20 games worth of Deshaun Watson over the next 10 years. No part of that at all. Give me Watson over Watson going to Miami, or Watson just going somewhere else. That's where I'd rather go. God, you guys really love talking about the whole Watson stuff instead of the coaching hire. Talked about going off the rails here. That's okay. That's all right. All right. Harsh, spam in the chat. I'll throw your thing up there. Why not? Let's see what we got. Trade package, 2021 Seattle pick, 2022. Get the hell out of here. That's a horrible trade. I shouldn't have even given that the light of day. You know what? I'm going to actually ban you. Or not ban you. I'm going to put you in timeout for putting such a terrible trade on the screen. And for just spamming my messages on the side. Did I see Deshaun's last tweet? No, but guess who's about to go over to Twitter to find out Deshaun's last tweet? This man is Watson. All right. What was his most recent tweet? So I see him saying more glory. He's got the Deshaun Watson on passes thrown in 2.5 seconds or less this season. He has 14 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. The only quarterback with 0 interceptions in that category. He had the highest completion percentage in NFL history with a minimum of 1,300 attempts. Deshaun Watson, 67.8%. Holy smokes, guys. This guy is special. Special. Now, in terms of, let's see, are you guys talking about things he liked? Or, let's see, I have Blessings Brothers. It says, here we go. Is that Watson in a... Oh, no, it's Haskins Jr. going to play for the Steelers. That's interesting. 29 minutes ago, Deshaun Watson says, if you always there for me, that's a really good look. So I don't know where we're getting the whole... let's look at his likes. What's he liking over here? Says, happy birthday. Happy birthday. I don't see anything for Saleh. Yeah, no, I don't see anything in Twitter on Saleh. So you guys probably just caught me sleeping there. Hashtag my buddy over there. Hashtag sports the Buffalo Bills channel says 4 defensive head coaches in the East. Yeah, man, that's crazy. Crazy to think about. Like, everyone's offense, and then we wind up with a bunch of defensive guys in this division. Dagner Rivero. Thank you so much for becoming a member of the Jets Talk 24/7 family. You will be able to join our 10 o'clock mock for members only. It's Tuesdays after the Talking Jets panel. So make sure you hang out for that. But thank you so much for doing that. It means a lot. Got a Dolphins fan in here saying Fields at 2, linebacker at 23. I don't think we're going to go linebacker at 23. I think we'll go edge rusher at 23 or cornerback. I don't think just because we have so much money invested at linebacker, it feels tough to do that. Again, we don't know what Mosley's going to be. The whole Mosley situation's annoying. Matt Riley says, he said, if you already there for me, that's a really good look. Yeah, well, who's already there for him? I'm going to have to do some digging into just exactly what it means. Check Allen Robinson's Twitter likes. Let's go over that. Let's look at Robinson's Twitter likes. Because Robinson, I know... Allen Robinson. Now, I know he's liked tweets of Watson coming to the Jets. Now, he did just like Robert Saleh, get used to the mantra, all gas, no brakes. So Allen Robinson just liked that within the last hour. So that's pretty cool. We've seen the comments of him liking Deshaun Watson with the whole Richard Sherman saying Watson's to go to New York and play for Saleh. I like it. When's the last time we had the NFL football players looking around at this league and saying, hey, you want to go to the Jets? Doesn't happen. Aiden Chris, as a 49er, just here seeing what people think of the moves he makes. I love the Robert Saleh hiring. And if you're a 49ers fan and you have any insight on Robert Saleh or what he might do in free agency or for a quarterback situation, please drop that in the chat because I'm very curious to see your takes on it because I have done my research on the guy and I feel like I know what he would want to do, but I also have not been watching the games religiously for the last 4 years. So you guys are going to have more information than I will. Let's see. Saleh in the presser said he's there for his players. That might be that hint. Ooh, yeah, that could be a hint. That's a really good thought, Carson. So if Watson tweets out that if you're there for me, that's a good start, or however he worded that, and then Saleh says that in the press conference or said it in the press conference, all the signals are there. Like if you're talking, this is like the guy in high school that doesn't know how to read signals. Like, oh, the girl's coming on to you, and she's like, oh, she really likes you. She wants to be your girlfriend. She wants to, want you to take her out on a date. And then you're just like, I don't think so. No, I don't want to go with the prom queen. I don't want to go to the prom queen. She's got a pimple on her forehead. Like, what? What? The homecoming queen wants you, and you don't want her because she's got a pimple on her forehead because she wants out of Houston? No, the prom queen wants you. Go get yourself a little package of 3 from the gas station. Go have yourself a night. Go bring the prom queen home. Do it. Oh God, I really want Deshaun Watson. I hope that's not coming on a little too thick there. At the presser, he talked about players and getting them the most money. See, that's pretty cool. You want your coach to want him to get his players the most money because that's what's good for the players. The players want to come over and they want to see that. They want to fight for guys that want to at least have their same interests at heart. Like if your mentality like Gase is like, I'm going to run you into the ground. No, I don't want to do that. Get the hell out of here. Dagner says, love the channel, Ryan. Been a Jets fan since Pennington. Anyways, I really don't like Wilson. I think Fields must have. Ooh, okay. I see. Hold on. I see your super chat over there, so I'll get to super chat too in just a second. Love the channel, Ryan. Been a Jets fan since Pennington. Anyways, I really don't like Wilson, and I think Fields is a must-have. Watson, Sam, or Fields for me. Thoughts? For me, it's 4. It's Watson, Sam, Fields, and Wilson. I'm not going to discount Wilson because of the level of competition, but I do think that has to be looked at along with his injury history. I do like Fields. I don't love Fields. I don't love Wilson. Like I love Watson. Like that's sort of where I fall on this. So here's this. He says, I really don't like Wilson. I think it's Fields. I think Fields 100%. So Dagner saying that. I don't know. I think Fields being the higher rated guy coming into college, having the stats he had are all very attractive. I think the issue is going to be the whole Ohio State quarterback thing. I think it's going to be, you played against bad competition. You didn't show up in the really big game. I don't know. There's going to be knocks both ways, and I don't like it either way. But I think players are going to be excited to play for Saleh, and I trust the football minds that are in the room right now to make the right decision. I really do. I can't stress that enough. As much as I say, like, I want this or I want that, I will agree. I won't say with every decision, but with a lot that's coming out of this front office. Now, if you come out and you're like, hey, we're bringing in, we're going to trade a pick for fucking Gardner Minshew. He's going to be our starter quarterback. I'll be like, what? No, please don't do that. Eliu says, what do I think about the new Jets defensive coordinator, Jeff Ulbrich? Ulbrich. I don't know how to pronounce English words. I'm all right with it. Again, I don't know a whole lot about him. He was the assistant head coach and defensive coordinator down in Atlanta once Quinn got fired. So I guess it means at least Atlanta thinks highly enough of him to give him that type of role in the interim. Do I think it's great? Not great. I think it's good that Saleh is willing to allow play calling duties to this guy. I don't know. I don't have a strong opinion one way or the other on it. It's not like the offensive side of the ball with LaFleur, really like that. With Ulbrich, I don't know, it doesn't matter to me, I guess. Wilson overrated, said Jets Die Hard with a Dolphins logo. What the hell are you doing over there? Sagar Moody Marty, thank you so much for becoming a first-class member of the Jets Talk 24/7 channel. Check out all your new emojis. You got some JETS emojis. You got a WTF, an LOL. You got a freeze bean. You got bad take, a screaming Robert Saleh face. Throw them up in the chat, boys. Oh, I love seeing them. It really makes me feel good because I make all these little things like custom. So I get the ideas through the Jets Discord. That's usually how I pull up my emojis. Let's see. What else are you guys talking about in here? Let's see. You know what you have in Watson, Fields, Wilson, and even Lawrence. You know what you have in Watson. Fields, Wilson, even Lawrence could flop. Always take the known entity. That's just it. I want the star-studded quarterback because he's 100% the guy. Like, I don't trust that the Jets are going to – not that I don't trust – this is going to sound weird. Not that I don't trust the Jets not to select the right guy or groom him the right way, but, like, history has spoken for itself, and it's just been bad. And that's just it, a coin flip. It's a coin flip for, like, two different players. It's literally like, what is it, a 50% chance that you hit? So why not take the guaranteed thing? You're basically saying if you're giving up 3 first-round picks, you're saying I'm giving up 1.5 players potentially, 1.5 hits. Do you believe that 1.5 successful players is worth Deshaun Watson? I do. 100%. Manny, I see you asking about how do you join the membership? So if you want to join the membership, I do a members-only 10 o'clock mock every Tuesday night after the Talking Jets panel. That's a new thing that we just started this past week. And if you want to join the membership tier of the channel, there's a little blue join button below the video here. There's different pay tiers. You know, you get the same, not the same thing. There's different perks, I guess, as you go higher. But you still get part of the 10 o'clock mock. You get all these little emojis. So whatever you feel comfortable with is 100% more than generous and more than I can ever ask for. So thank you so much for even considering it. Let's see. What do you think? Says Soulful Crown. What do you think about getting Watson? Then with the 23rd pick, Terrence Marshall Jr., 6'4" wide receiver, him and Mims on the outside. I don't love it. Not because I don't love Marshall, but because we have so much money in free agency. I've said it time and time again. If you take quarterback in the draft, or if you're even trading for Watson, whatever it is, you have so much money. Invest the money in a proven wide receiver right now. It's going to be a lot of money, whatever it is. And now you have contracts that are offset. So Mims is not going to get paid until this high expensive free agent is off the books. Crowder comes off the books next year. So like for me, I would take either one of Robinson, Galladay, Godwin, Davis, Fuller, Curtis Samuel. I would take any one of those 6 guys before taking a wide receiver in the first round. There's guys you could talk me into, like Devonta Smith or Jamar Chase in a trade down with keeping Sam. Like, okay, I could see it, I guess, but I don't love going receiver in the first round when we have Mims and so many options in free agency. Like, you got to look at what the strengths are in free agency and where you can kind of plug holes in the draft. I don't know. In Joe Douglas, we trust Jets, Nets, Mets, says Urban Meyer has close relationship with Justin Fields. It's a very small chance, but I can see Urban Meyer picking Justin Fields at number 1. This is a huge area for me that I think fans need to look at, because when I'm looking at the Deshaun Watson rumors and everything, I almost want to like attract free agents here before free agency. Or not before free agency, but before we draft, because there's a situation where Lawrence is sitting at 2 and the Jets just take him, and it's like the absolute right decision. Like if you're the Jets, you have no reason to make this deal right now if Watson wants to be here. Like, you wait until draft day, because if Lawrence is sitting there at 2 and the Jets have the option of either taking Lawrence or trading for Watson, I'm going to trade for Watson. I'm going to give up number 2 overall to get Deshaun Watson instead of Trevor Lawrence. Or you say, because I think that's at that point, that's what you would do. It would be only number 2 to get Lawrence for the Texans, because I think that pick is so valuable. I think the Lawrence pick is so valuable. So you can either do that, take the rookie contract, and just say, screw it, whatever, it's fine, which I'm 100% behind, would be all for it. But if you're giving me the option between number 2 or Watson, there's a real good shot that Watson would be the guy I choose. Manny Roman, my brother, joining the channel. Thank you so much. Like I said, means a whole lot to me. Jordan Victor saying we are signing Sherman based off Twitter comments. No, I think we're going to sign Sherman based on him playing in Saleh's defense and us having a need at cornerback and a need at someone to teach us the defense. So Sherman, I think we're going to sign based on what we were going to do anyway. I think that was going to be part of the plan regardless, definitely once Saleh got here. I wouldn't have thought it otherwise. But now him wanting Watson here, I'm up for it. I just don't want to bring him in and then we don't get Watson. Now he's upset that he's got Sam Darnold as quarterback or Wilson or Fields. I don't know. But I would definitely bring in Sherman. It just depends on how much he's worth because I don't want to give up $10 million for this guy. Samad says, do you think Richard Sherman wants to join us after what he told Deshaun Watson? I do. I think he wanted to join us just to keep his career alive anyway. So for me, that's it. Shaquille O'Neal says, Allen Robinson liked a Robert Saleh quote. He did. Deshaun Watson also made a comment on it. There's so much smoke to this fire. It's just wafting in. I love it. Okay. Rafi says, why would we want Joe Douglas to spend like a drunken sailor in free agency? Remember Tremaine Johnson? When we spend big in free agency, it almost never works out. You're confusing me and the words I'm saying. I want Joe Douglas to spend the money. I don't want him to spend the money like McCagnon. I don't want to spend money on an inside linebacker when we have one in Avery Williamson. I don't want to sign Tremaine Johnson to a crazy big contract when, the team that had him clearly did not want him anymore. So for me, I don't want him to spend like a drunken sailor. I want him to spend like the GM that we brought him into to be. I think he is a dialed-in guy based on the contracts he handed out last year to Brian Poole, Jordan Jenkins. The guy's not going to overpay for talent. He understands that quantity not always wins, but quantity. There is a quantity versus quality threshold. So like having Brian Poole at $5 million, worth it. Having Brian Poole at $9-10 million, maybe not worth it. Because maybe that means you get a different cornerback or you get a different depth guy that can step in for when Poole gets out. Like those are the different kinds of things that you got to take into consideration. But I do want him to spend. We have a ton of money. This is the year to do it, to get free agents when there's a cap-strapped year on other teams. There's going to be like half the league cannot give contracts out to free agents. Like that's what we're looking at. The Jets are in a incredible strategic advantage this year. And I cannot stress enough that they need to take advantage of it. Aiden Chris says, Richard Sherman got burned a lot. So this is coming from a San Francisco 49ers fan. That's just it. Like, I don't want to pay him a lot of money. Like, I would bring him in here as a culture changer. I would want him more as a coach, I think, than a player. Like, think McCown as a quarterback for, like, Darnold. Like, I would think Sherman is the cornerback for insert whatever cornerbacks you want to bring in. But I think he can help teach that system. I think I'd like to see him as a free safety more than a cornerback. That's it. I don't want to overpay for him. So there's that. Adam Schefter told Greeny not to get your hopes up for Watson. Are you buying into this? I mean, Schefter's the one to trust, if anything. I would say the Watson rumor, I think the Jets can go out and get him. I don't think that's a problem. I think the problem where it falls for me is that Joe Douglas doesn't seem like the type of guy to give up the draft assets right now to go get Watson. You come around, number 2 pick of the draft, and Lawrence is gone. Wilson and Fields didn't look great at the combine, or, I think you could talk him into it, but I don't know. I would say Watson going to the Jets is the least likely of the quarterback situations that we could have coming to us. Like, I think Sam is a higher likelihood. I think Wilson and Fields are both higher likelihoods, but I don't think Watson's likelihood is 0 at all. Benjamin says, does this year's $80 million cap space include the $20 million from last year? Yes, it does. I believe I think we're at like $71 million right now, if I'm not mistaken. And then we can cut a few players to get us, I believe it's like $15 to $20 million higher. I think cutting Henry Anderson's like 8 million, 8.2 million savings. You could cut Fant, although I don't see us cutting him unless we find like a clear upgrade. Like I think offensive line is still an issue. What else? Crowder, you could move on from, but I think that would be a bad move. I think you just let him play out his contract and then sign elsewhere next year, try to get a comp pick for him. I thought he played well anyway. Doxson, you can cut. That's going to be like, I think, $1 million savings. He opted out this year. Logan says, do I like Miles Austin as wide receiver coach? Sure. I like Hines Ward as receivers coach. I like Miles Austin as receivers coach. It doesn't matter to me all that much. The head coach was the biggest piece. Defensive coordinator wise, I wasn't as concerned because we got Saleh. Now that Saleh's going to be giving up defensive play calling, worst case scenario, he takes over defensive play calling. Like, good with that. LaFleur with the OC, I think, was a huge, huge get, along with all the different pieces that we're kind of adding into this coaching staff. J Dub says, Niner fan here. Sherman definitely handicapped Saleh's play calling in that he was more one-dimensional. This past season, without Sherman, Saleh showed he's got a lot more in his bag than cover 3 zone. That's interesting because, so for me, the reason to bring Sherman in is the culture more so than the play. Like I wouldn't want to pay him the money that he's probably looking to get as a starting cornerback. Now, if he wants to look at possibly retiring and being a coach for the Jets, that would 100% be on my wavelength. Free agency, or not free agency, in terms of free agency, like I would want him to be a free safety, I think. But the Jets are hurting in corner, so we're gonna need help anyway. Andrew Wenman, my brother, says, when are you getting hired by the New York Jets? They probably laugh at me. They're probably like, oh, this guy's a clown. We're not bringing him into here. But no, seriously, hey, Jets, if you want my number, I got an email link in my about section. I'll hit you up. Kyle Y says, Urban Meyer, Trevor Lawrence, or Saleh and Watson, if we get Watson. If you're a free agent, who would you rather play for? It's Watson, hands down. Like, Trevor Lawrence is an exciting player, and if the Jets had gotten the first pick, and you say, okay, the Jets have the first pick plus Lawrence plus the new head coach in New York City, like that's attractive. Jacksonville, they play 1 or 2 games a year in London, so you're getting taxed on international taxes for your salary for those 2 games. So everyone's saying there's no state income tax in Florida. That's correct. There is no state income tax on the games that you play in your home state then. But when you come up to New York, you're playing New York taxes. So Buffalo, New York tax. New Jersey tax against the Jets. Massachusetts tax for, the cheaters. All that sort of stuff. So it's interesting. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens and where guys go. I think Watson being a top 3 quarterback coming in with Saleh, 100%, the Jets would be a more attractive landing spot than the Jaguars. Unless you're 100% all about the money and you care about the taxes, it's probably not a crazy ton of money for most of these guys. We'll see. Manny says, make a shirt. All gas, no brakes. Or all gas, no gas. I like it. I have a shirt idea that I'll probably put it. I should just put it out. I should have just done it. But it's going to be a B and then a salad bowl and then a B. It's going to be like Robert Saleh, Bob Salad, Robert Saleh. It's stupid, I know, but we had salad bowls going all over the place for when he was hired. So that's what it is. Where else are we talking here? Scott says, do I think CJ Mosley will be good this year? I don't know. It's basically 2 years off. That is a lot of time off. I don't like it. I don't love it. I'm really, really worried about where that's going to be going. There's the salad. Bam! It's a Bob salad. That's a Robert salad if I've ever seen one. Salad between 2 B's. Boobs. That would be a great shirt. Just a set of boobs with a salad. Right? Something I'd wear that, sure. Karam says, would you trade back for Devontae Smith? If we're keeping Sam and we're trading down to 4 or 5 or 6, yes, I would trade down for a wide receiver. If it's Smith, great. I wouldn't necessarily need to target him. I think him or Chase or Waddle would be fine. I think Surtain, the cornerback, would be fine. Kyle Pitts, while I don't love a tight end that early, would be fine. David Zoller, what is your opinion on J.C. Horn at 23? And if he falls, should we take him over edge? This is a guy I had in my guys to watch out for the 23rd overall pick. If he falls down there, he is a zone corner. If we plan to implement a zone defense, I think he would be a really good fit. I do like the idea of going edge because I think if you provide pressure on the quarterback via the edge position, you're going to make your cornerbacks look a lot better. We've kind of gone the opposite route the last 12 years where it's like, hey, let's put a lot of money in the cornerback room. Tremaine Johnson, Antonio Cromartie, Darrelle Revis. We've invested draft picks in D. Milliner and Kyle Wilson. So for me, let's try the edge route. If there's one you like, if there is an edge rusher there at 23, I would rather we go that route than the corner. But I do think corner is a big need. I would take corner with our top. Cornerback is going to be a need I would like to address within the top 3 or 4 picks of this draft. So there's that. Let's see. Benjamin Knack. Would you be in on Watson if it cost us 2 number ones this year and a number 1 in 2022 and 2023? Oh, that's rough. 4 number 1 picks. No, I don't think I would. I think the Jets are sitting in a really, really advantageous situation right now where you have the ability to kind of, I don't want to say call the Texans bluff because you still have to bid more than someone else, but that would mean Miami would have to give up both firsts this year and then 2 other firsts. So if they're giving up 4 first-round picks, I don't know. That doesn't feel like the right move. That franchise quarterback, if they pull the trigger on that, sure, I don't love it. I don't love 4 first-round picks. I think the Jets are going to have a lot of really good options, whether we take Watson or not, or get Watson or not. Robbie Meichner says better not be late to Jose Tejas. I know I can't be late, but I think I got a little bit of time. I could be on here for another 15 minutes. And I got to start getting ready and doing stuff. All right. What else you guys talking about in here? Eli says, hey, Ryan, who's your Super Bowl pick? So who I picked before the playoffs started, I said Packers over Chiefs. This week, I have the Bills over the Chiefs I shouldn't say strictly for competition purposes. We have this whole thing where you get points based on the correct winners you have. So I'm going to pick the Bills this week over the Chiefs because worst case scenario is that the Bills lose. I still have the Chiefs losing to the Packers in the Super Bowl anyway. I'm definitely rooting for the Packers over the Bucs. And then I think the Bills have a real good shot at winning the Super Bowl. I think it's them for me, it's the Bills, the Chiefs. I guess all 4 are pretty good. I think it's going to be the Bills or the Packers. That's what it's going to come down to. Bills or Packers are going to win the Super Bowl. I hope it's the Packers because I really don't want to deal with hashtag sports and all those fucking Bills fans. So we'll see. NY Jets feed says, what do you think fits better, Allen Robinson or Chris Godwin? Allen Robinson. So Chris Godwin's a lot younger. Chris Godwin, I think, is 24 or 25. Allen Robinson's going to be 27 or 28 when we bring him in. I would say Robinson has played much better with far worse quarterbacks than Godwin. Godwin has played well with Winston and with Brady. Both quarterbacks that I think should definitely be starting in this league, where I'm not so sure Mitch Trubisky, Blake Bortles, or Nick Foles should really be starting in this league. So I think Allen Robinson's the crown jewel, and I would prefer him as the number 1. But if Godwin shakes free, the younger asset, I'm cool either way. Between those two, Galladay, Corey Davis, I don't love Will Fuller, Curtis Samuel. There's a lot of guys. The only guy I would say I don't want is Juju. I would prefer us stay away from Juju. As a Jets fan, is it okay I'm rooting for the Bills? I mean, their fans deserve it. Don't cancel me. Evan, here's what I'll say. I'm not rooting against the Bills because for me, the last 20 years have been so dominated by the Patriots. I am cool seeing some other team win. That said, I'm not actively rooting for the Bills right this second, but I'm not going to be like, "Oh, the fucking Bills won! You've got to be kidding me!" No, like good for them. They had 4 Super Bowls in a row that they couldn't win, and they had some of the best fans. I really enjoy Bills Mafia. Some of my best friends are Bills fans, and like I get it. I think if roles were reversed, aside from like us having Rex Ryan and being like a thorn in people's sides, I would bet Bills fans, if we were in this same situation, we had say Robert Saleh as as our head coach and we were going to the Super Bowl, I don't think they would be as dead set against us either. I think it's almost like a misery loves company kind of thing. Like I would bet Dolphins fans aren't overly upset at this either. It's just kind of like, oh, it's their time. They're playing well. Like they deserve it. That coaching staff is coached out of their mind. I don't know. Everyone's upset. They're like, oh, I'm rooting against the Bills. I'm sorry. You guys are going to cancel me then. That's going to happen. Would you trade or would you take Penei Sewell or trade down and get Wilson? I will not take Penei Sewell under any circumstances that I can really foresee. Like, I'm not taking Sewell at 2. I would trade down, or I would take Wilson or Fields. I would say Wilson, Fields, or trade down are my options. If Penei Sewell's there in a trade down, sure, I guess you could talk to me about it. But I don't know if I don't think Sewell's a realistic option for us just because we have the first round pick in Becton last year. Like, build your team more. Don't push all your assets into one thing. It's almost like drafting safeties in the first and second rounds. Like when you have a top 10 pick, like that was a tactical error on the Jets side of things. Tom Capelli, let's say Saleh and Douglas want to keep Sam and they trade back. How far would you be willing to go? It depends how much. For me, it depends how much you're getting back in return and how much confidence you have in Joe Douglas's drafting. Because if you have full faith in Joe Douglas and you go from 2 to 4, from 4 to 5, or 4 to 8, or 4 to 12, like with the 49ers. Like the 49ers at 12 are going to be an interesting situation. Like, hey, are you willing to give up like D Ford, your first round pick this year, your first round pick next year, for us to slide back, and we're going to keep Sam? You tell me you're going to give me an edge rusher, a stud edge rusher, and 2 first round picks? I don't know. I could spin it that way. I would say 12 is as far as I'm looking to go back, and I don't really want to go back that far. I would rather we stay in the top 8. But there are situations where you could trade a player that the Jets need that would fulfill a drastic need for the Jets because they're loaded on that D-line. Not to mention we know how to use them already with Saleh. So I would be okay with trading down with 12 if the circumstances around it were all right. Ryan Stevens says, there is a noticeable buzz around this team right now. I hope this energy carries all the way to September. Sign Marcus May too. I think the signing of Robert Saleh means we're definitely going to bring back Marcus May. I think he's going to want to play for Saleh. I would have wanted to bring him back either way. I just think he probably would have accepted the franchise tag prior to this. Now I think we might be able to get a long-term deal worked out a little bit easier. But yeah, there's a ton of buzz around this team. Like, I want this team to be able to be exciting. Like, when's the last time the Jets were talked about as a fun destination to go? It just doesn't win. It just doesn't happen. Kyle Y says, Ryan, would you give up either Quinnen Williams or Mekhi Becton this year's first pick and next year's first for Watson? I would not give up Becton because left tackle is insanely hard to find. Quinnen Williams, I don't know if I'd give up any players. I like our young core. I like Quinnen a lot. I think he has a lot of upside. If there was a player to give up and you wanted to say it was going to be Quinnen Williams, I guess you could do that. You're still going to have to fill that guy's spot, though. Like, depends what defense we're switching to. If I had to give up Quinnen or Becton, it would be Quinnen. I would not give up Becton. That said, I would rather give up the picks, I think, and Sam. What else are we talking about in here? Hey, HFC says, bring back the old uniform. I like the old uniform. I'm not crazy about this iteration. Luis says Watson and Watt. So Watt is more than likely out in Houston. He's not that he's a free agent, but I think they can save $19 million against the salary cap if they cut him, which I expect to happen. But I think his two brothers are playing for Pittsburgh right now. So more than likely, I could see J.J. Watt taking like the vet minimum to go play with his brothers just to say he did it. Because I think he's nearing the end of his career anyway. I think he'll at least try to play with the Steelers for a little bit. I think if you're free and you're allowed that opportunity, you want to play with your siblings. I think that's really cool. That said, I would take him, 100%. I would bring him in, but I just don't. I think he'll want to choose the Steelers there. Johnny Fuzz says thoughts on Leonard Williams being brought back in free agency. I don't want it. We got Quinnen Williams. I like Leo. I don't have a problem with Leo. Let someone else overpay for him. He had a good year this year. We couldn't utilize him the way we needed to utilize him. And, we made out all right in that trade, but I don't want to pay him the kind of money we're going to have to pay for a defensive line guy. I would rather us pay an edge rusher and get some offensive pieces more than anything else. We saw it coming with the Diggs trade, but fans here don't want to trade Deshaun Watson. Really? Yes, that's just it. You see the Diggs trade happen. You're like, oh, man, they are going to be loaded. Now what do we do? It's like, but getting Watson's exciting. It immediately turns his franchise around. Immediately. Philly Noodles says, how do you feel about the free agency pool? McKinnon for running back, 49ers defense, free agencies too. I don't want McKinnon as a running back in free agency. I would rather us draft a guy. Kenny Gainwell in the third round is someone I'm really looking at hard. He's the running back from Memphis. He opted out this past year because 4 of his family members died of COVID, and he's going to have a lot of, not many miles on his legs. Guys like Najee Harris, who are, seniors, Travis Etienne, these guys are going to have a lot of highway miles on them. I like him. I don't want to draft him in the first round, but Kenny Gainwell in the third round, I like that. I get on board with that. You want to take a running back in the second round, maybe after a trade down in the first round? Okay. Maybe. Aaron Jones to the Jets. I love Aaron Jones. No, though. I do not want to spend that kind of money. I have some serious PTSD after the Le'Veon Bell thing. And at this particular point in time, I see them going more of a running back by committee, which lends me to believe Gus Edwards maybe from Baltimore, or drafting a guy. I don't think we're going to spend much on the. I don't think we're going to spend much on a quarterback. What else you guys talking about in here? Not even going to try and pronounce that name. I love Joe Douglas and fully trust him, but I feel like he's very safe and don't know that he would trade 3 number ones for Watson and sign a receiver like Allen Robinson or Godwin, but I would do both those moves. That's the thing. We haven't seen what Douglas is going to do, because remember, he wasn't in Philly when they made the trade up, but he's part of the regime that endorsed trading up for Carson Wentz. And that was a trade up from I want to say it was pick 20. And they went from 20 to pick 8 because they traded Kiko Alonso and their first round pick with the Dolphins to get up that high. And then they traded the Dolphins number 8 overall pick. And then I don't know if it was 2 first round picks in a second, or I don't remember exactly what it was, but they moved up to number 2. So I don't think Douglas is afraid of, giving up picks if he has to, if he's getting the guy he wants. Now that said, and him being very safe, he took Becton. Becton was not the safe pick. Becton was the high upside, low floor type pick. I think Wirfs would have been a safer option at 11 at that point. So I think upside is calculated with Douglas. So I could see Watson. It doesn't feel like 3 firsts is a Douglas move because he likes his draft assets so much. So it's a little goofy. If you bring in Watson, I would say I would think we're definitely getting a star wide receiver in some capacity. I think whether it's one of those two or we maybe spend a little bit less, I would like it. Alan says, I was able to trade back multiple times in the mock and ended up with 12 picks in the top 100 and add a second rounder next year. So much talent infused we would have. Yes, unfortunately, those mock draft simulators are not very good in determining trade values or anything like that. They're fun to do. I enjoy a good mock draft. I do them. Heck, we're going to be doing them every Tuesday for the members. But it's not someone that I'm really fired up for. What else you got in there? Zach Wilson liked a tweet saying Zach would fit the Jets. Of course, it's the number 2 overall pick. He wants to try and up his stock as much as possible. I think he has said that he sees himself as a fit with the 49ers and the Shanahan system. So I think he knows that he would like being a New York Jet or a 49er in some capacity. Yes, we'll see. Sorry if you answered this before. Devonta Smith at number 2, yeah or nay? Nay. Big time no for me. Do not want Devonta Smith at 2. In a trade down, sure. Other than that, no. Ryan, buddy, have you joined the Pat Fryermuth Shrine fan club yet? Yay or nay? Pat Fryermuth is the tight end from Penn State. Again, I don't love taking a tight end this year because I would rather roll it back with Herndon and see what we have with the guys we already have than investing in a position that we might have already had a solution at. I think Herndon is one of the most likely guys to break out of the Gase a coma that he was in. So depending on where you get Fryermuth, maybe second round, if that. It depends. If they think he could be their Kelsey, that's fine. I'm good with it. I don't love the idea of going tight end early. Sign Manhattan Mariota. Could we trade our pick, then use the picks we acquire to acquire Watson? No, that's not going to happen, I don't think, because the whole value in the Jets, or the whole value for the Texans with us, the only reason we have the upper hand in anything is because we have the number 2 overall pick. If the Jets do not have that number 2 overall pick, and that's not in the equation, unless they really don't want to trade with Miami, I think Miami would give up the 3rd overall pick for Watson. So we'll see. RJ McPott says, who's our backup quarterback this year? It's going to be CJ Beathard, whatever. The backup quarterback for the 49ers. I think he comes over this way to be our backup quarterback and groom either Sam or a young franchise quarterback, or even just to help Watson. I think he knows the system, and I think it makes a lot of sense for us to do that. Yeah, we'll see. Hey, Ryan, do you believe the Jets will pick up Sam's 5th-year option? No, I do not. I think the 5th-year option is going to cost way too much money, and it's guaranteed in terms of injury. So I would not give Sam a contract because, God forbid, he tears his ACL at any point during the season and he cannot pass a physical before the start of the new league year in 2022. We are on the hook for $25 million and no quarterback. So no way. Sorry, not happening. That would be doomsday situation. Eli. Hey, Ryan, you think Brees is a top 5 all-time quarterback? I love Drew Brees. Do I think he's top 5 all time? It's so tough because if you're saying okay, you're going to take a quarterback for his entire career. Yes, I like Brees a lot. I would take Brees for his entire career. If you're asking me if I would take Brees in a one-game situation where I'm taking a top 5 all-time quarterback, are Brees' stats all-time top 5? Yes, 100%. Passing yards, touchdowns, but in a top 5 where I'm taking the best guys to go out and win a game, I'd be hard pressed not to go with in no particular order, Brady, Manning, Marino. You got to think Mahomes has got to be up there. Some of the guys now, because of how lethal they are with their legs, you could argue could be better options than some of the guys even a Peyton maybe in a one game situation. But it's interesting. It's an interesting thought process because there's so many different ways you can ask the top 5 quarterback question. In Joe Douglas, we trust, says, hey, Ryan, what's wrong with Juju? I thought we could have gave him at least a 1-year prove-it deal. Juju, for me, is a slot receiver. He can play all over the place, but like Crowder's good in the slot. Give me a number one that can play on the outside. A guy like Allen Robinson, Godwin, Galladay, any one of those players I would prefer over Juju. Plus, I kind of think Juju has a little bit too much love for his social media, and I think that has to be at least some type of concern. So we'll see. Oreo says, should the Jets make a trade for Michael Thomas? Saints might make him available. No, because it's going to cost us too much, and there's so many good options in free agency. There's no reason to trade a valuable pick to the Saints, because there's going to be a better team that's going to offer a higher pick than what the Jets would be willing to part with. So I don't think he's an option for the Jets. Trade down with 8 with Carolina. You could get a ton back on that one in this year's draft. Plus, they're 1 and 2 next year. If the option is to trade down, I would say getting a first round pick for next year is such a huge get for Joe Douglas. That might be the tipping point in as far as like, are we taking a quarterback this year or not, based on if we're getting a first round pick or not. Hey Ryan, do you know how much salary cap would go down if we sign Godwin and trade for Watson? Yes, I do. So let's say the Jets have, let's say they don't cut anyone. We have $70 million in cap space. Deshaun Watson is going to count $10 million against next year's salary cap. So that takes you down to 60. Godwin, let's say you give him a $20 million a year deal. Could be a little bit more, could be a little bit less, whatever it is. That takes you down to $40 million. So you'd have $40 million left before cuts to play with, to bring in guys to surround Watson and Godwin with. And you've addressed 2 of your biggest needs and have an extra $40 million. That's wild. That is wild to me. Now, $10 million of that is going to go to sign your draft class, so it's a little deceptive. So you got to deduct $10 million from whatever our cap number is, and that's like the real number that you're kind of playing with. Yeah. Rob says, should we sign Marlon Mack or Mark Ingram? I don't want to sign either guy. Again, it's just because of the whole running back by committee. I think both guys are going to get more money than I would feel comfortable giving them. I'd rather just draft a guy and just, I don't want to say run him into the ground, but I would rather, do that. Let's see. Out of all 40 languages speak, Ryan, out of all the 40 languages, chooses to speak facts. Thank you, dude. Heath says, Douglas giving someone $20 million, laugh my ass off. I don't think Douglas is against giving out $20 million. I think it's going to be very strategic in how he does it. A wide receiver, it's a lot of money, and I could see Curtis Samuel making more sense for us. It's not the sexy pick, or the Corey Davis pick could make a lot of sense for us, just because we need a lot of talent all over the place. $20 million for an edge rusher, $20 million for a left tackle. Like, those are positions I could see Douglas spending money on. I think he will make Thuney, whatever, the guard from the Patriots, the highest paid guard in league history if he hits free agency. So if you want to talk about potentially giving $20 million to a guard, yeah, I think that's a possibility. I think Thuney is that good that you could see them possibly do something crazy like that. Do I think P. Ryan can or will be a running back 1? I don't trust him to be running back 1. I trust him to be like the third down back. So like second overall back is really all I'd put him at. I don't know. All right, guys, I feel like I'm getting a little off topic here. We were supposed to talk about Robert Saleh. So let me wind it back around real quick. So Robert Saleh hiring. I am very much all for it. You guys saw my reaction video to the hiring itself. I love that he's not calling the defensive plays, that he'll have oversight so he could always go back and call defensive plays. He's letting his coaches really do his own thing. All gas, no break. Huge. Love this energy, not even just on the field, but in the, I want to think I just lost connection. Did I lose connection? No, I'm back. Okay. Sorry about that. I love that the power structure has changed. It's not a huge thing, but I think fans might sleep a little bit easier knowing it's GM, head coach, assistant coaches, all that good stuff. Oh no, freeze bean. I'm getting the freeze bean emojis. All right, boys. Well, you guys heard my thoughts about that. I'll probably make, I might make a video on this later. I'm not too sure. We'll see. I'm going out to dinner, but I'll talk to you guys later. I'll have a video, guys, up for you at some point in the future on stuff. And look for my mock off season. I'm going to be doing a mock off season with a lot of different stuff. So stay tuned for that. All right, boys. Peace.